Steam Next Fest came and went. I know this is going to be a little late because that ended around February 12th. And you might have already seen some of the games that I'm going to showcase here today, but I still kind of want to talk about them a little bit because some of them are a little interesting in their own ways. And I'm sure you've already filled out your wish list for what you already want from any future games coming out. I want to note this wasn't all that was interesting in the Steam Next Fest. This is just what I got to play during various things going on. I got sick. I had to deal with family issues. I can make this video now, which is why it's so late. Let's go. Awita, The Journey of Hope. This is a side-scrolling action RPG which takes its inspiration from Dark Souls. It has an emphasis on your standard defense flow, with a parry mechanic built into the block. You also have a limited inventory, only carrying a small amount of gear/items. There wasn't that much in the way of actually balancing what you had, at least in the demo, but I did have to dump equipable gear, since I had way too much duplicates. Overall, the combat felt stiff, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. The boss of the demo didn't have an inspiring moveset, but it definitely highlighted just how awkward and locked you felt in gameplay, whether your character decides to do a multiple hit combo after one button press or not, or just being trapped in an animation priority. Definitely needs work.
With all of that being said, welcome to Magna City.
Chasmal Fear is touted as a bodycam action horror game. You find yourself in a Rapture-like Bioshock location at the bottom of the sea. Right off the bat, the game feels really weird. Everything feels like I'm kind of suggesting motions to the character, and you're just kind of following through with it. It was the only game that I started to feel vaguely motion sick. The gameplay on itself is rough. It's hard to aim at targets' heads, or actually any part of the body. It all feels really limp. On top of that, you have enemies that will revive randomly, noted by their red glow, kind of like a Crimson Head from Resident Evil, prompting you to bust out your knife that you have to reload. There's implications that you can make choices as well that will affect your outcome, and the outcome from this choice was that I got an assault rifle. It's weird, and it kind of feels bad. Just avoid it. Crow Country is a survival horror game that aims to replicate the pre-rendered background aesthetic and nails it. You explore an abandoned amusement park that's very lovingly crafted and eventually encounter monsters. You find ammo and equipment strewn throughout the amusement park, hidden behind and inside objects. There's also an extra little set of collectible crows to shoot. I hadn't finished doing that, as I found the bronze key and inadvertently found the end of the demo early, without fully exploring everything. I really enjoyed what I played. It looks beautiful. I'm really excited for it. I highly recommend looking at this.
Death, Lady of Men, Lady of the true faith and of the true path of those who breathe, hear my clamor.
Deathbound. This is another Souls-like game, but you can change your character on the fly. Whether they be a sword and board, crossbow-wielding, spell-slinging character, you can just change them mid-combat. But it also features futuristic environs. It's an interesting mix, though the futuristic buildings are a little dull, and everything blends with each other. The on-the-fly swapping characters is kind of fun to mess with. You get more characters and you can assign them on certain positions on your D-pad. Characters have affinities with each other, and their placement on that hotbar affects what nerfs/buffs you get. I didn't really notice their effects that much, though. Each character plays differently from each other, but specifically the spellcaster felt intensely weak, while the others had some pretty good strengths to them that counterbalance their own weaknesses. Reaching the boss of the demo was a slog, combat felt odd, and attacks would miss despite having clear, obvious connections. The boss himself was solvable, especially if you've played enough Souls games. I didn't die once. I don't recommend this game either, at least in its state.
Oh, please.
Dreamcore. Apparently Dreamcore has been in people's hands for some time, having already thoroughly explored this game. It's a Backrooms game with a ton of unique rooms. Like, I can't even articulate how many rooms there are. The visual aesthetic is done well. The VHS effect on top of a decently rendered environment almost makes it convincingly realistic. There are haunting sounds that play here and there that really add to the atmosphere. And that's all about I can really say about it. Movement is terribly slow, especially in water, and despite being able to actually identify specific rooms a lot more frequently than I thought I would, thanks to genuinely good landmark placement, it's easy to get lost. Rooms are interconnected in ways that don't make sense, which is expected for this kind of game. It's neat to walk around in, but it was also really exhausting after 2 hours of trying to find a single flashlight that was suggested to progress. If you like backroom stuff, have a look-see at it, I suppose. Kind Words 2. This is a sequel to a game about sending your thoughts out to the wild and receiving kind words in response by other players. This one expands that and lets you kind of directly talk to people, but never giving out names. You send a message to someone asking how they are and they'll respond back sometime later, and you do a little back and forth about 5 times before the game tells you, hey, that was nice talking with them. There's also a room for asking about recommendations for pretty much anything you want to ask and want to recommend for, books, TV shows, food, as well as sending paper airplanes to kind of send random kind words to anyone who would click on those paper airplanes in the overworld. This one really hinges on the individual interactions and how willing you are to talk to people about what's going on in their life for a brief moment. Choosing whether or not you want to open up yourself to others anonymously is interesting. It can be really sweet, but it absolutely depends on you, whether that does something for you. Oh, also you can name or describe cats, which is really cute. Level unknown, Backrooms. You are hazmat dudes, and you are set to explore the Backrooms. You do that, and it's really dark and it crashes a lot. There isn't too much to talk about other than some kind of neat effects that are applied at times. But this game feels really awkward to play, like, it looks rough. I could barely figure out where I was standing to make jumps, that's how awkward it felt. I don't really recommend this game. Lonely Space. A supposed immersive sim with some of the goofiest physics ever seen by human eyes. Your usual immersive sim allows you different ways to approach everything, from navigation, dialogue, and combat, really letting you solve everything by your own solutions. This didn't really have any of that, so I buffed strength, and thank God I did, because there's no gun ammo, and they do dog shit damage.
Welcome back to the world of living. I'm Dr. Clark. This is my lab. I recreated your body and consciousness. Look around. You can take whatever you need. But hurry. We have a lot of things to do.
And even the melee was goofy as hell. Damage output was terrible until I realized I could just kind of pick up shit and throw. That was the most effective combat option. I didn't have to be actively in melee range, and I could throw things without them breaking or usually being lost. Also, this game has some very obvious AI line reads, and it sucks ass. Don't play this.
I understand that it is not very pleasant to voluntarily go to death, but unfortunately, this is the only way. Shit. You need the access card. Shit.
Morbid, the Lords of Ire. Another Souls-like game. It doesn't really add that much that makes it truly special either. It stars this ponytailed woman, and you get this tiny sword. Kind of looks like the first Lords of the Fallen game in terms of its aesthetics, and it just kind of puts me to sleep. It features a posture system, where breaking their posture by doing enough damage allows you to follow up with a heavy attack that typically kills them, or at least does a lot of damage. Combat feels a little stiff, and at no point did it feel like things were really connecting. The only way I could tell was by sound and the meters dropping. Morbid, the Lords of Ire. Avoid it. Mullet Mad Jack. If you enjoyed Post Void, a high-octane FPS where every kill lets you live just a little bit longer, then hey, here's another game in that style, and it's very good. It has an 80s vibe where in this world you are assigned to save a girl and everyone is watching. Attention span is small, so if you're not doing good, your limited 10-second timer depletes and you die. It's really satisfying speeding through, kicking guys into traps and blasting their heads or crotches off. The rapid pace is wild. I really enjoyed my time with it, and its aesthetic is really well done. Absolutely check this out. Tribes 3 Rivals. I always admired Tribes from afar. Having a really fast-paced, hard-to-master style game was always appealing, but whenever I'd get into it, I'd be garbage at it. So I turned away each time. Tribes 3 Rivals, I really forced myself to try and get at least alright at it. And alright I achieved, I think. In Tribes, you're given a rocket launcher type weapon usually, and given the glidiest boots ever seen by man. Utilizing slopes in your backpack rockets, you move at incredible speeds, trying to reach a flag and predicting shots on where other players are going to be. It's hard to master and hard to judge how fast your shots go versus how fast the other player is going, but when you land a hit, it is oh so satisfying. I can't say if this is the best version of a Tribes game or if this is a good one in general, but I had a lot of fun with it. Check it out. Virtua Unlimited Project. Remember Mega Man Zero? Those games were awesome. I played Zero 2 all the time as a kid. Well, want more? This is that. It's a lot easier than those games, but it has pretty much everything you'd expect from one of them. To the point where old habits from playing those games returned and I entered that flow. It was kind of seamless. It was weird. It's really fun. I'll say that there's an awful lot of dialogue, which admittedly I wanted to avoid since I was like, more Mega Man Zero? I want to play more. Sorry, check it out. Alright, well, that's about it. Some of these games are still playable for the foreseeable future for their demos. Some are no longer available. I'm not really sure why that's a thing. I understand with some of them, they're kind of like, play tests, so with, testing their servers and all that. But there's some that are just single player games and they're discontinued their demo. I don't see why not just keep it up, but I'm not a game developer. Either way, if you want to keep an eye out on any of these, they're all on Steam. Look up the names and you'll find them somehow. Unfortunately with this video, it's very late, I know. Again, Steam Next Fest ended on February 12th. This is coming out weeks after, but I still wanted to talk about these because some of these were kind of neat in a way that, or worth looking at, or maybe someone will be interested in looking at, if not me. Anyway, on to the next Steam Next Fest. Goodbye.